Hi there, and welcome back to Japan, where I have a very special guest for one of my podcasts. As always, what we like to do on this channel is we like to appeal to people who have significantly more subscribers than we do. It's lovely how my community does that. They go, hey, Howard, here's someone who people actually listen to. Maybe you should talk to him. And we have someone who people actually like to listen to, which is Axe Japan. Hi, Axe Japan. Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Not too bad. This is literally the first time we've spoken other than a couple of DM tweets and the last 30 odd hours of me trying to sound check us, but that was not the most riveting conversation I think I've ever had. So,
Yeah,
anyway,
it's all good. It works.
it seems to work. We'll find out after this has all been deleted accidentally and we have to record it on a second take. So, anyway, I think the brief things that we can get out of the way as being pure obviousness. Japan, you are a YouTuber. I think many of my people who follow our channel will have heard of you. You unsurprisingly play guitar. I think your background nicely sets that up. And you do have the look of a guitarist. And you obviously are interested in Japanese music, unless that's just a very big diversion of a title. But I've heard you play a lot of Japanese songs on your
That's right.
channel. So give us a little bit of a rundown from your perspective on what it is you do. What brings you to the internet?
Well, just for fun, because I've played in bands like since I started playing guitar, and basically just found myself without a band and never been that interested in performing covers or anything like that. But just one day, I was just listening to band-maid Thrill, and I was just like, oh, I think I was watching someone else playing it actually on guitar, and like they were playing it wrong, and I was like, they're playing that wrong. Maybe I should do my own version. And
Hold my
so I did.
capo.
Yeah. So that was the first one. That was the first one I did, and I just thought, well, since I did the cover of it, maybe I should teach it. Because I taught guitar for years. So I just thought the lesson thing would be just a cool, different thing, because not many people, like no one was teaching like these songs. Go online and look up like how to play like Guns N' Roses or something, or Metallica, and there's like a million tutorials. But if you go, if you're trying to learn how to play anything by Japanese bands and stuff, then there's nothing. So I just thought it'd be a cool thing to do.
I think that's an area that we both kind of ended up in, though, is that niche of hello.
What's wrong? My mommy. Oh, like Daddy's just talking to Howard just now. I'll be through in a minute, okay? We're just gonna chat for a bit. Can you say hi? Where's Nana?
Do you need a
Can you
moment?
sorry? Can you give me? Can you just give me 2 seconds?
Go for it. Go for it.
So like we're gonna have to edit this out. Sorry about that. My
Welcome
mom's
back.
supposed to be watching them, and she just escaped. So,
The struggles of adult life have
I know. Okay, we can cut that bit
no, no problem. No problem. So yeah, we kind of both found ourselves in a similar niche in that we're obviously playing around with doing things on the topic of Japanese music, an area that we both have an interest for. And I think it's interesting because you tend to find the people who are really into Japanese music, they're very loyal following, they're really in it, they're really knowledgeable. It is a niche thing. So we don't maybe get the millions of views that people talking about more general pop culture would, but it's kind of rewarding, I think.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, when I start, I mean, I didn't really do it for, it was more just I got quite inspired by, especially, I've been listening to Japanese music for like years before I started YouTube.
Yeah.
But it was basically, I got really inspired by Konami, from band-maid especially. And I just kind of, it started out as more, because I didn't really play much lead guitar, so I wanted to try and learn and through playing, because I felt like what Konami was doing was like not that much above my skill level, so it was like sort of a way for me to like improve myself. But then like as the sort of it kind of picked up in views and subscribers and stuff, and I was like, oh, I should take this a bit more seriously. So
you've got a hankering for that attention.
But I guess
Don't
maybe just because I've been playing, in bands for so long, I do miss like playing, gigs and stuff like that. So it's kind of a way of doing that, I guess.
I found it quite interesting because you just mentioned, because I played music before, and I still do play music, and play a range of instruments, probably all to a lesser level than you play guitar. But I'm kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, because I primarily like writing. And as a result, I was always more of a rhythm guitarist than a lead guitarist. I never really invested into becoming a lead guitarist. And I was interested listening to your videos that a lot of what you do, you really focus much more on the core, like having a solid sound, like having a really good solid way of playing, which a lot of the other tutorials that I've seen, it's all very much, here's how to twiddle really fast. I think that probably makes you a bit more relatable as well. I think more people are able to listen to what you're doing and say, yeah, I actually feel like I could do that.
Yeah, that's right. And I do like to try and, not just, band-maid's a good example because they have the two guitarists, and obviously Kanami's the really good guitar. Like Miku's good too, but
she's the student. She's the student.
Yeah, exactly. And her parts are a lot more simple. So a lot of times I'll do her parts in a separate lesson, and that kind of appeals to more of the beginners because it's more chord based as opposed to shreddy all the time.
But how did you originally, you say you've been listening to Japanese music for a long time, and the question, everyone gives a different answer to this, and it's really fascinating. How did you first get into Japanese music? Was it vicariously through someone you knew, or from Japanese culture? Were you secretly a weeb growing up? Where did this come from?
No, it definitely wasn't a weeb, but I definitely watched anime when I was younger.
You were weeb curious.
It's funny, like I didn't even really register it as anime. Like it was like to me it was just another kind of like a cool cartoon, really. But basically, the way the first Japanese music I heard was basically I was living in the city for a long time, and then I moved back up to the country, and I was kind of just like alone, and just chatting to people online and stuff. And basically someone sent me some stuff from like the Ghost in the Shell soundtrack. It was like, so the first stuff I really got into was sort of like anime soundtrack stuff.
I think that's a good way in for a lot of people. That's a good way in.
Especially like the composer Yoko Kanno.
Oh,
who did all the Ghost in the she did Ghost in the Shell, she did Cowboy Bebop and Wolf's Rain and stuff.
I know her stuff from Cowboy Bebop because even though I've never seen that anime, a friend of mine years ago, when I had already expressed an interest in Japanese music, they were more into anime. I was never really into anime. And they just said, well, look, here's a soundtrack I really like. And they gave me that. And I must admit, there was some really cool songs on there where I thought, yeah, this is interesting. And it helped me realize that Japanese music has so many more weird things are acceptable in Japan. It's not like there is a one defined pop sound. There are certain archetypes of the Japanese pop and rock sound, but you can also get away with doing some really weird stuff, and people will popularize it and listen to it. I think what jumped out at me initially, I guess, was just the sort of complexity in it, and just how like intricate the arrangements were and stuff. And I think from there I kind of discovered, or I was sent like other artists. I remember there was a singer, Ruratia. She's pretty popular. I think she's still going now, but some of her songs, and then the first kind of like real like rock thing I kind of discovered was like, because I started watching Naruto at that time, and in the second opening they had like the Asian Kung Fu Generation song, and just that song like matched with that opening. I was just like, what is this? It was like the coolest thing. It was like literally the coolest thing ever. So like I went and found all their stuff, and then really from there I kind of just like snowballed into sort of discovering other art similar and stuff. One of our mods on this channel is like a massive Asian Kung Fu Generation fan, like sort of tier 1 Asian Kung Fu Generation fan. So I'm sure that hearing that right now, you've probably made his day. So But yeah, no, they were an interesting group, and also the fascinating thing about that is Asian Kung Fu generations certainly are of the more. I'm cautious to say middle of the road or MOR, but they're certainly in that more. They're not like a heavy band. They're not poppy. They just kind of exist in that fairly accessible kind of pop rock area. And I found it quite interesting that obviously you've got the look of a hard rock guy. You play guitars and you use axe as the guitar reference in your tag. You come across as a really heavy guy, but I kind of got the vibe from your stuff that you are actually, and certainly from what you're saying now about even anime soundtracks, that you're one of those people who actually you really do listen to a whole range of music, even if you kind of maybe have your heart in one area. I'm just guessing there. And
Yeah.
I've always had a lot of respect for that. And I think that's also a very useful quality if you're going to get into Japanese music.
Oh, definitely, definitely, because it's it's just endless, really. The amount of just you can't pigeonhole yourself to listening to one style of music.
But
It just
so many people do.
I know. There's a lot of elitists out there that will literally only listen to one style of music, and yeah, I mean, if that's what they want to do, that's fine. But there's just too much out there to enjoy, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so interesting enough, I mean, I watched quite a few of your videos, especially today before us talking, but I never really actually looked. I mean, a big thing for me about doing YouTube is having an online community. I mean, I say my Discord people, they pretty much lead me from all the artists to listen to that maybe I haven't heard of, introduce me to people like yourself. I'm assuming, I mean, do you run a community? Is there something that people can maybe look into? Do you have like a community of people following you?
I do. I mean, I do have a Discord, but it's a very recent thing, and I haven't really figured out how to use it properly yet.
People, you know where to go. You know where to go. Find his Discord.
Yeah, I think I've actually. I don't even think I'm linking it in the videos yet, but like I will. But no, I tend to just communicate with people through the YouTube comments and through Twitter and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I just haven't done the whole community thing yet. I do have a Patreon and stuff, but there's not a whole lot of people in it right now.
One thing I'd maybe add to that, I think Discord, because with running this channel, I won't bore people by repeating stuff they probably already know, but we've been through all kinds of stuff with me having to move home repeatedly, all kinds of things. I've pretty much presented videos from park benches before. And, one of the main reasons why I kept on doing YouTube was because of the community. And so I would definitely recommend that. But,
yeah.
Yeah, go on.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, talking about community, because I love the Japanese music community.
That was kind of my point, yeah.
I am like in a couple of Facebook groups, the Japanese music experience and stuff, which is great. And but
Band-maid Cafe by any chance?
I think so. And Band-maid fans. Yeah,
we've had their mod on here. We've had the guy who runs that on. Name drop.
Yeah, Band-maid fans worldwide and stuff. But just like even just meeting people in real life, like through going to the gigs and stuff. Like you go to like, I've never really experienced anything like going to a gig that's a band from Japan, because like you'll just stand in the queue and you'll just like meet so many awesome people. And you just, that doesn't tend to happen with me.
Just as a quick side note, to put that into some context, I didn't actually ask you, I don't want to be too presumptuous, where in the UK are you?
Scottish Highlands.
Scottish Highlands. By the way, we just got a 10-minute warning on this meeting. Don't worry, anyone who sees that, it has slapped itself right in front of my face. I'm just going to move that right in front of my face. Yeah, we are using Zoom. When it cuts us off, don't worry, we'll keep on going, people. We will be back. Just you can see the little time bar at the bottom of the YouTube video, okay? This conversation continues, all right? Just stay with it. Most of you probably couldn't read that anyway. Anyway, so yeah, so you're up in the Scottish Highlands.
Yeah, so we don't get a whole lot of Japanese bands coming through.
Well, this is what your commitment level must be pretty high. You must have travelled to go to some gigs. Give us some examples, distances and bands.
Well, I mean, it's really just London, but it's so basically, the first time Baby Metal played in London, which was
2012
in the in the forum, something like that. Yeah, 2012, something like that. It was like right after or it was right before. It was either right after or right before Sonosphere, the first time they played that. And yeah, I had to go. So basically, yeah, we have this. Well, you probably know the Megabus, which is
Yes.
basically it's like the cheapest bus you can get, and it goes overnight. So basically, I would leave Glasgow at night, and I would arrive in London in the morning.
I've taken that to Paris. I took the megabus to
Yeah.
Paris once, yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah. So I just like spend the day in London, or just like queue up super early, and that's kind of one of the things, because like a lot of people, especially if there's like meet and greets and stuff, like people get there early, so like you're standing in the queue with these people for like a long time. And yeah, I've made so many friends like standing in the queue and stuff, and like friends I talk to, on Twitter, and people. I think when Brideyear played in the Underworld, it went down, and a few people recognized me from YouTube and stuff. And
I'm really glad that you went to see Brideyear, because that's a band who people had to tell me listen to Brideyear for months before I got round to it. And I must admit, even now, I haven't listened to that much of their stuff, but every time I listen to something new, I'm surprised I'm getting more from them. And I think a lot of the time those smaller bands, and even with JPU, they are still a smaller band. I think there's also something rewarding about covering them, because you might do a video about Brideyear and get 50 views or something at most. But then the people who are watching it genuinely actually care about the video.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, like you said before, it's a very niche thing, and
True.
I don't. Even though I love band-maid, I don't. The channel's not just about them, even though they're the band that definitely get the most views and stuff. If I do stuff from them, if I, I'll just do whatever. I it's kind of what I've always done. I'll just do what I want to do.
Well,
I don't just do it because like I'm going to get like more views for a certain video or things like that.
it is interesting though, because like when you I mean, I buzz around the band-maid subject a lot because I'm genuinely interested in them, and seen them live, got all their stuff, all their recordings and everything, and it's just a band who I genuinely have a lot of interest for. So I feel almost weird when they do something I want to cover it, and I'm sort of thinking, well, this is going to get a load more views. I hope people don't think I'm just going for the clickbait.
I feel that too.
It's genuine love, people. It's genuine love.
Yeah, and the fact that they're constantly doing stuff, so it's just like it's hard not to keep on top of it.
What do you think about like?
But yeah, I went down to see band a couple of times in London as well. But the Brideyear one was cool, and like that was the first time that I'd got feedback from a band about like one of my videos as well, because I'd shown them. Yeah, because this is like the old Brideyear, so this is like the original lineup Brideyear, not the Brideyear that exists right now. So they had it was like a small meet and greet and stuff. So I showed them the video, or like just me playing the solo and stuff. And Misa, the guitarist at the time, she was like, "Oh, I've seen this video."
That's amazing. So you got to show her you playing her song.
Yeah, but like she'd already seen it, so I was kind of mind blown. I was like, "Oh, that's awesome!" So yeah, no, they were really digging it and stuff. So that was really cool.
That is fantastic. I mean,
cool moment.
One of the coolest moments for me, and anyone who's followed this channel is probably going to be like, "Oh God, old man Howard's repeating his war stories again." But one of the coolest stories for me was I saw band-maid live here in Shibuya, and there was this eerie thing where obviously there was not a single non-Japanese person there that I could see, and so we were waiting in the line, went in, and then when we went in, there was like the big hall where they were playing. But of course, Japan, it's all seated. Most venues are all seated. And you entered, so you can imagine it's like staggered in layers. And you enter sort of in this middle layer, and then you either go up to your seat or down to your seat. I walk through there, and I'm walking along, and I see someone in the front of one of the area to my right, and they're sort of looking at me, and just lifts up their phone and takes a picture of me. I thought, that's much more weird than just taking a picture of me. But I thought, okay, so maybe someone recognizes me. And this was back when we had, because our previous channel got closed down. But we had a previous channel and we had a lot more subscribers. We still love you guys who are still here. But so that was weird. I thought, okay, fair enough. And then I walked down to my seat, and there was this moment, you can almost imagine it as like something out of a movie. My seat is in the middle of the row. So I start shuffling along to my row, and I can see, you can see the empty space where you're going to sit. I'm shuffling along to it,
Uh-huh.
and I can see the guy one across from there, like the guy who I'll be sitting next to, basically. And as I'm shuffling across, he looks at me, and then he just sort of holds the look. And I'm getting close to him, like, okay, well, this is uncomfortable because I'm the one moving closer to you. And as I sat down, he sort of said in like a pigeon English, he said to me, "Oh, YouTube, I know you."
Amazing.
And I'm thinking, for the rest of this gig, I am going to be frightened. If I don't react enough to a song, or if I react too much, this could be total forum fodder. I don't know. This guy's obviously online, so yeah, no, that was a real pleasure for me. But I
That's
never,
awesome.
I never quite got what you've got, which is because obviously my Japanese is still slow. You're in a situation where you can talk to like-minded fans right there in London or England or anywhere in Britain,
Yeah,
basically. For me, that
yeah.
very much has come about via the online community. I
Hmm.
feel it feels like that. So that's why I would definitely push you to give a little bit of a give your Discord links out, see if you can get your regular followers on there, because
I will. I will. I will. I need to find the time to kind of learn because like there's my Discord, and then I recently got invited to the band-maid fans worldwide Discord, or like
oh,
so, yeah, some basically a band-maid fan Discord, and like when I went in there and just like the amount of stuff that was in there, I was just like I was a bit overwhelmed. I still
this
don't really understand it, but I will do my best to get my head around it and
Discord
grow a
is a
community.
fantastic tool, which is, I know some people
Yeah.
disagree with me, but it's really unbelievably not user friendly at all. Every single
Hmm.
option and menu is hidden. It's terribly designed, but I love it, Discord.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
No, I will do it. It's on my list.
It's on your list of things to do, I like.
Exactly.
So, yeah, so I wanted to move on to a little bit more actually talking about. Well, before we get into, there's a couple of subjects I want to cover with you, definitely, as I got you here. But one of the ones I really wanted to jump into first, all then, is we know how you got into the Japanese music. I
Hmm.
guess this is the more obvious question. What got you into music, and moreover, what got you into guitar? Sorry, I'm getting notifications on my phone. Stop. What got you into music and guitar to begin with? Kind of an obvious
Right.
question.
Okay. So no, that's a good question. And so basically, when I went to, because I went to a boarding school after primary school,
Wow, that was
and
not what I expected to be part of the answer.
so basically, like in primary, I listened to music and stuff. I didn't really have like an interest in it. Um, and the thought of playing guitar and stuff, like even though that was I remember it being a cool thought in my head, but like it was never something that I pursued because like I don't know why. I just thought that I couldn't do something like that. I don't know, it was weird. I don't really understand my 7-year-old, 8-year-old brain. So basically when I went to boarding school in my second year, which the first year you start out in a kind of like entry thing, and then
To
after
like
that in the second
acclimatize.
yeah, yeah, like in the second year, everyone kind of splits off into different, like they call them houses. So basically,
Oh
you're
yeah,
you're
yeah.
with a group of people that are like on all at all years and stuff.
I'm not going to make a Harry
So
Potter
when I
reference,
went,
I swear.
yeah, so when I
Oh,
went in
by the
there,
way,
so basically what I
it's about to cut out, so I'm going to call you
oh
back.
okay,
Okay. Yeah.
okay,
Just give it 1 second. I'll let it cut out organically in a few seconds, and then remember where you are in the story. We'll pick it up from there.
yeah,
Should just close itself in a moment. They'll never get me to pay for premium. All right, continue.
okay. So when I went into the second year, I was in a room with like 5 other people, boys, and one of them played guitar. And basically, so basically, like I had this like music collection that I kept in a box, and it was just like chart stuff and just bits, just random stuff. And so he showed me. So basically, he played me 3 bands. He played me Metallica. He played me Nirvana, and the Wild Hearts. The Wild
Wow.
Hearts are like one of
Yeah.
my favorite bands. They're actually quite big in Japan as well.
Yeah, they are.
Um, and so basically, like I heard these bands, and like and watching him play guitar, I was like, I want to, basically he taught me how to play my first few things.
Mm.
And after that, I literally took the box of music I had and just threw it in the bin. Like, I was just like, it was like a light, something just switched, and I was like,
I have this image of a montage of all the records disappearing and the hair just growing.
I wish. It was like, it was just like, this is crap. And yeah, from that moment on, it just kind of, as we started about, I picked up the guitar really quickly. And as soon as we did that, we were quite lucky because we had another guy in my class who's still one of my really close friends to this day. He played the drums, and his brother played the bass. So we formed a band straight away. So we were literally a band from then till we left school, really. Wow. And that's how we all got better as musicians and stuff. And the music taste kind of changed as we went on. It got heavier as it went on. It kind of went from Metallica to Pantera and then to Slayer, and then
you clearly never became jaded to the more poppy sounds, or was it maybe something where you kind of dabbled with the heavier stuff and then had a renaissance where you found yourself regaining a more rounded sound or taste later?
Yeah, I mean, when we started, it was like we basically just started playing the Nirvana songs, and then our music kind of was kind of copying that a little bit, and then yeah, it kind of went sort of heavier and heavier. But I always still listen to. I was discovering new bands all the time. Pearl Jam were a big band for me at that time. Like, all the grunge bands really were huge for me at that time in my life.
I'm gonna guess we're a similar age based on what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, well, what was I? I was 12 in 95, so that was mid 90s.
You dropped it there. You dropped it there. 12 and 19.
So I kind of missed out on that scene. Obviously, I was too young, plus I was at boarding school. There was no way for me to go to gigs. So I went. The first gig I went to was in 1999, and that was to see Fear Factory, who are still one of my favorite bands. And yeah. I'll never forget the experience of going to that gig. That was another monumental occasion for me. Just experiencing that type of music live, and the sheer volume, and just feeling the bass drum in your chest and stuff. It was that was an addicting. So yeah, that was the start of my gig ventures.
I think that a lot of people really can sort of really relate to that first instance of going and seeing, if you like, the size, the scale, the impact, the full feeling of a show.
Yeah. And funnily enough, actually, I played a gig before I went to a gig.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you that, because it sounded like that was the order in which it happened, and I'm pretty sure that's the same for me too. I can't actually remember, but I'm pretty sure I played a gig before I saw a gig. But
yeah.
I do know there's that thing where people often don't get this, but there's a difference. There is a very palpable difference between seeing a small band play live, or even, I'm going to include this, or even going to one of those festivals that a lot of teenagers like to go to. When you're actually in a room and the fans are all there for one band, and it comes on and it's a room, the sound is contained. There's something really quite different about that.
Yeah, it's just a awesome experience, really. It's just everyone's there for the same reason.
Yeah.
Depending on what band you're seeing, obviously, but everyone's going nuts at the same time. It's a lot of energy,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. So a couple of little things. I'm going to throw in a couple of little things here, because I've been intrigued by. I think you've just expressed a much wider love for music than I guess I would have immediately guessed. So I'm gonna put a few little questions down. So first, I want to know, and we're just talking about here. You can interpret this however you want, but talking about bands who you like, who you listen to, what would you describe as the most weird artist, the most out there artist, the artist where you probably would be least likely to recommend it to your friends because you think no one else is going to like this stuff?
Oh, there's so much stuff I listen to that no one else would like. But put me on the spot now.
Yes, I did.
Um, no, it's fine. It's fine. Look, not Japanese. Could be anything.
Yeah, anything. Yeah.
Anything. Um, I mean,
That's what happens when you ask a real music fan a question. They have too many things to pick from. It's like going into a restaurant and you open up the menu and it's just like, well, I want to eat all of this. So I'm gonna
well, I mean, Max, like for Japan, like think,
don't say it. Don't say it. I heard you start to say it.
Max from the Hormones,
Ah!
were like, they were quite a big thing for me, and like not many people got them. Because of the whole like they cross over into like pop punk and then it goes cutesy and then back to the heavy and stuff. But I just love. I mean, my favorite type of music is just like the genre mixing, and I feel like the like Japanese bands genre mix like so
I
amazingly well.
I
Especially like even the alternative idol bands, like they just do like
yeah.
so much like genre mixing.
I
And I mean, a lot of their stuff is weird. I would not play people some stuff that's come out of the alternative idol scene because like some of it's just like way out there.
I mean I've
Like that.
really enjoyed stuff like I mean I know they're still fairly mainstream, but really enjoyed stuff like Bish being fantastic.
Yeah.
I I was really blown away. One of the songs that I was really blown away by, and I've said this before, was a group called Takayaki Rainbow. They had a song called Money, Money, Money. And just, it was one of those songs where I can understand why most people don't think much of it, but just the arrangement to me was so berserk. It was so all over the place, and yet somehow coherent that I had a lot of love for that. So I totally get that. I should point out the band who you mentioned previously, they are the one band who we refer to on this channel as the band who shall not be named.
Yeah.
So I'll
I
have to dub over you saying that. No, but
yeah. I
yeah.
know they're a nightmare.
No,
Um,
that's why that's when I said about we had a channel before with a lot of subscribers.
uh-huh.
Yeah, I'll just leave
Was
that one
there,
for you. I'll
was
leave
it
it
their, was their fault? Oh my god.
directly from their own private email. We got the complaints. So,
Uh,
but yeah,
um,
I was gonna sort of add to that as well. Like, so have you heard of? I mean, one band who I bring up sometimes. Have you heard of a band called Cardiacs?
no, I don't think so
Interesting.
actually.
Okay, interesting. They are an English band. They're unfortunately no longer around because the lead singer had a cardiac arrest. Oh my god! But they are one of those bands who, if anyone who I know who's a muso, who's into weird stuff, that's a band who I would definitely say give them a go.
Maybe I have actually. I don't know because I was kind of like I was thinking of Japanese bands when you said Cardiacs, but now
Mm.
that you've said they're British, it's kind of ringing more of a bell. Um,
You're about the
but
right
yeah,
age, right? Same as me, about the right age.
yeah.
So
Um,
yeah, a
and
full. Go.
other artists like I mean I do really love Bjork. Like she's always been like a huge like thing for me, and like her stuff gets weird. So yeah, I guess I like a lot of weird stuff because I was like you know I discovered Bjork like fairly early on. So um, like
Yeah,
all her stuff. So it's
she's
I do like the weirdness in the music I listen to.
she's almost a poster child for weird. But I think one of the things I'd say about Bjork, although she's not like one of my all-time favorites, I have kind of a lot of respect for her because I think she does that thing that I always find really endearing in an artist. I always say like the really greatest artists are the ones where when their songs work, they're just unbelievable and they span so many different styles. But those artists also always have a lot of really bad songs as well because when you're experimenting, you're going to make some crap on the way. I mean, I think about things like David Bowie, Queen, the Beatles. I'm personally a big fan of Blur. I would say they're all artists who, when it works, they can do anything. And when it doesn't work, you're left scratching your head going, what on earth were you smoking? So, yeah, Bjork definitely fits into that category, I think.
Exactly. When she did a whole album that was just voices. Okay.
So another follow-up question I wanted to kind of just talking about various bands. Two other types of artists that I'm interested in. Second of all, I should say now, because you have this more open taste in music, I don't like the phrase guilty pleasure, but I want to know what is the poppiest that Axe Japan, I apologize. What is the poppiest that Axe Japan listens to?
The poppiest is probably either, I'm not going to say their whole name, but the idol band Zenbuki. Do you know who I'm talking about? Zenbuki.
Oh, this
They've got such a. It's like.
I think I've been asked to cover them, or maybe I have.
That's usually what people call them, but it's like, it's such a long title. But they, I mean, I guess I'll just say like some of the alternative idol bands do have like a lot of really poppy stuff, and like I do like that. You know, just it doesn't have to have guitars in it. You know, as long as the melody's good, and like, even, and there was a point, where I would, years ago, where if anything was auto-tuned, I would be like, but I've kind of accepted the fact now that it's more just like used as a musical instrument, as opposed to actually trying to like make people sing better, well, especially when it's used in the context of like the idol bands and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, we had a community thing on our YouTube where this was a couple of years ago now, but it really rang interesting, where I kind of asked the question on a poll, how do you feel about auto-tune? I said people who, one answer was, I won't listen to anything with auto-tune. Another answer was, I think it's a creative choice. And another answer was, I can tolerate it. It doesn't kill a song for me, but I'll see how it goes. And virtually no one went for I can't accept it. And a lot of people said it's a creative choice. I was really surprised because even with my channel, a lot of the people who listen to it have come to us from things like Babe Metal, Band-Maid, even Love Bites, people who are really into the heavy music. And it was interesting that I think there's more people who will accept it, but almost feel like if they admit to accepting it, I mean, I don't particularly like it, but it can work sometimes. They feel like if they admit to accepting it, they're less of a music fan. They're not really a music fan if they say they're okay with auto-tune. Incidentally, I will just add to that as well as a double example was Passcode, assuming you've heard of them. And, of course, their April Fool's track was absolutely beautiful.
I enjoyed that. I really did. I thought it was a good song.
And they kept it to a minute and a half. They knew what they were doing. They didn't overplay their hand. Yeah. That was good stuff all around. So
it was great. It was great.
I would therefore
say, stuff like that. If as long as it has like a good melody and it's like, still has a bit of soul to it and stuff. It's fine. It can be as poppy as you like.
So, I would, I think that should just be the right attitude. There's nothing wrong with having preferences, but I just think I wish more people just looked at music like that. And I'm glad to say that a lot of people in our community do, which is always very encouraging for my jaded old self.
Yeah. I think as well because like because a lot of the bands like have this poppy side to them, and they sort of, like I said before, like the genre switch. It kind of gets you used to hearing that. So like if you weren't so much of a pop fan, you were more of a metal fan, the bands start to introduce these poppy elements to their songs, and you start to hear them more, and then you start to appreciate it more, and then it kind of opens your mind to different genres. Really,
I think that's a really good thing that Baby Metal have done. I know there's very mixed feelings on Baby Metal, but for me, I really liked that because I like heavy music, but it's always just been one corner of music for me. And I found that although I'm probably more of a Band-Maid fan just by generally that I just really like what they do, certainly I found that Baby Metal has brought people into the conversational arena with me who I perhaps would have never had the ability to talk to before. So
for sure. They opened a lot of doors.
Yeah, absolutely. Which brings me on to another question. So I'm really interested. This is always a fascinating question to ask. Is there any one, maybe two, but an artist in Japan who are kind of your tip? They're the one who you want them to go far. You see them going far. I mean, like me, you like to look at some of the smaller artists as well. Who is it that you're kind of saying, yeah, I want my money on that one? Not so much as a bet, but just like you believe in them.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so Hanabiye
Mhm.
um, would be. I feel like they could be huge if they just keep going the way they're going. Um, and also, I mean, there's a lot of bands as well in Japan that are, they're big there, but they just need to, come over here. And I'm blown away that Gakaric Spin don't have like don't tour like the world regularly, because like I feel like they're one of the best bands like in the world.
It's interesting.
Um,
It's very
uh,
interesting. Yeah.
and I think, but I know why. It's because their sound is still rooted in the Japanese sound, whereas bands like Band-Maid have a much more Western sound, so they're much more appealing to Western ears. We're not used to hearing like Gakaric Spin are just mad, and they just throw in like all this crazy stuff, which is too much for most people. So I do kind of understand it, but in terms of just like up and coming bands, like I do feel like Hanabiye are the ones that like
They do have
I
that
really
crossover appeal. I do think that they could, like you say, they could
yeah
manage to achieve both a pop and a niche sound at the same time.
yeah
I mean, sorry, just to catch on your point there, because you made a really interesting point. I kind of agree with what you said. Maybe I hadn't thought about it in terms of Gacha. I think it's pronounced Gatric Spin, but I'm going to be corrected by someone. I don't think anyone really knows how it's pronounced.
I
So
never pronounced it right.
don't worry,
Never.
I'm pretty sure that I haven't, and I've tried about 50 different ways, and someone always goes, Howard, that's not how you say it. So I interesting though. That's an interesting example because I think there is that whole thing about, and I've done whole videos about this about Western artists, well, sorry, Asian artists, Japanese artists specifically breaking into the West, and what factors really are involved in that, what variables. And I think sometimes there are artists where I'm almost happy that they can't break into the West. Because unless you're asking for the industry to fundamentally change itself, there's just something about their sound where you go, well, look, look at artists like band-maid. Of course, they can break into the West because they are built on a fairly Western rock structure, and then they're adding a
Exactly.
flavour that could only come from becoming an artist in Japan and becoming an artist in that kind of way. But then you get some artists who what they do fundamentally would have to be lost. And I think
Hmm.
you're right about Gakuric Spin, whatever it is. I feel like for them to appeal to a Western audience outside of the teeniest of niches would involve a loss of what they are. And I will add one to that. Many people I know, I mean, I really enjoyed the band Silent Siren before they broke up. And many
Hmm.
people I know who also enjoy them have always used to say, oh, well, they could get big in the West. And I just said, it's very fundamental, but having a singer who has a really high pitched voice, you're ruled out. That isn't going to work in the West. People are not going to buy into that. I mean, you look at the cutesy pop of baby metal; they still have like the booming voices. Um, so yeah, I think sometimes you can look at an artist and say, I genuinely hope you don't break out in the West unless the West fundamentally somehow changes what it is, and I don't even know if I want that to happen.
Yeah, because you don't want bands to be discouraged, um, and you know I think Bride Year are a good example because they keep coming, they keep touring Europe and stuff, and like there were, I'm pretty sure there were gigs that they were doing where like there wasn't really a whole lot of people there, but they still did it, and they still continue to do it. So yeah, it's just, I guess it just depends, but when you're a certain level in Japan, and then you know you know Guitar Spin, they're playing these massive shows in Japan. What kind of venues would they be playing if they came like over here and stuff? But it was the same with baby metal, I guess, because like they went and did the Forum in London. That wasn't a very big venue.
But they did Wembley
You know,
Arena afterwards.
yeah, they did the Forum, and then they did Brixton, and then they did Wembley.
Really,
So yeah, it was quite
they did like
quite a
the
big jump.
Academy, like Brixton Academy, or
Yeah, yeah.
wow, I did not know that. I'm sure someone's on here going,
Really?
Howard, we told you that, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, if I mean, the Blu-ray they put out was literally the Forum and the Brixton gig on the same
I'm
disc.
really bad at live Blu-rays and discs. I tend to be the studio version guy.
Yeah, no, but like, yeah, I was at both those shows. I was at Wembley too.
Really?
Um,
Wembley was the
yeah.
one where someone told me they got me a ticket and then the day before lied to me. Said, sorry, didn't get it. I was like, you cheeky bastard. Mm. Um,
Yeah, so that was like, I think that was the last time. Was that the last time I saw them with Yui? I think I saw. No, I did see them at the Download Festival. I think that was the last time I saw them. I did see them with Yui 4 times.
wow.
Uh,
Okay, there you go. You've got a lot of Japanese gigs under your belt, my friend.
I do now, yeah. And also the 2019, there was a really cool gig that they put on in London, which was the Metal Matsuri Festival. So they had 10 Japanese bands come
Yeah,
over
yeah, yeah.
over like a weekend, and there was 5 bands one night, 5 bands the next night, and it was that was amazing.
The
They had Mary's Blood headlining one night and Unlucky Morpheus headlining the next night, and we got to meet all the bands. It was incredible. Yeah.
I speak with jealousy when I hear
Yeah.
that.
Everyone, and like honestly, everyone I tell about that gig, they're just like, whoa.
Well, I mean, I have been lucky. I've seen a few Japanese artists in London. Luckily, I was doing interviews for a magazine at the time, so I got to interview some really strange people. Like I interviewed, he's not so famous anymore, but Miyavi, who
Oh, nice. Yeah.
he turned out to be a very weird person to interview. I shouldn't be surprised. I never was a huge fan of
Yeah.
his anyway, but I thought this would be interesting. And then it was like, oh my god, this interview is the hardest conversation I've ever had to try and get through. I interviewed Chiari Pami Pami, which was just, she's the opposite. You expect it to be very awkward, but she's incredibly fun. She was an interesting one because she sells out, well, at the time, she sold out massive venues in Japan. I saw her in two venues. I can't remember the other one, but one of them was the Camden Roundhouse, which was a very interesting venue for her to be in. It was just very strange. And I think there's a lot of Japanese artists who come here. Some of them will go for something small like the O2 Islington that they're sure they can fill, and some will go for something bigger. Hi.
Sorry.
It
Sorry,
might
could I
be
just
time
take
for
it?
you. Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Yeah, it's something where I think that ultimately that enjoyment of seeing the artist live is really quite something. I've seen quite a few artists here in Japan, but I think it's really great when you can see them, as I say, with fans who are in the same country, from the same country as you.
Yeah. And it's happening more, it's obviously, this pre-COVID, it was starting. I felt like there was more bands like coming over.
Yeah.
There's a promotion company in the UK that's pretty good at getting the bands here. So
Is it through JPU?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Jacob
like
with Brider and band-maid,
so we just have to hopefully things will start picking up again. I'm going to see Scandal in September. They're playing Brick. I think O2 Academy. I think Scandal. So I'm super looking forward to that.
I got a lot of my community who are big into Scandal, who are really losing their minds about this tour. And I know there's one in America who I'm going to give a shout out to Harry. He is the biggest Scandal fan. I think we can just sort of drop that now. It's like there isn't any, no one's going to compete with Harry on this one. So I know he is like absolutely really revved up for that. And they're one of those bands who I really love it when they tour because they have a lot of different range in their back catalogue, and they're just sort of quintessentially one of those Japanese artists who, if you like Japanese music, Scandal. They're not a flash in the pan. They've been around. They've done it. So
and they can get pretty puffy actually themselves. So yeah. I mean, there's some of the early stuff I'm not too much of a fan of, but from the past few albums and stuff, like I feel like the stuff they're doing like recently is like way more appealing to me, and I can't wait to see them live.
I agree. I think our opinion is probably in the minority, but I think Scandal are a band who they're high enough quality, whatever you think of them, that even if they change style and you don't like the new style, you've got to respect where it's coming from. I thought Kiss from the Darkness was a spotty album, but it had some really great stuff on there between some slight missteps. I know we're running a bit low on time, but I just really want to get your opinion. What did you think about Mirror? Because to me, Mirror was a really interesting experiment, but whether it was worked or not is a much harder question.
I mean, when I first listened to it, I didn't like it as much because it didn't have like the really rocky, it didn't have like the energy
Yeah,
of the other albums,
very low energy.
but yeah, but as I listened to it more and more, I started to sort of get what they were, trying to do, and then I appreciated it a lot more. And some of the songs on there are just like stunningly written and arranged. So I appreciate that. But
We got the old
I don't
10-minute warning, by the way, but don't worry, we're okay.
Okay. I mean, it's definitely not my favorite album of theirs, but I do really like it. I do like it now a lot more than I did when I first heard it.
I would say I had a similar feeling. I mean, I did an album review on that because I'd been requested to do an album review, and what I usually do is before reviewing it, I try to live with an album, listen to it in different circumstances, listen to it fully.
Yeah.
My big test is I go shopping and I put it on in the background while I'm going shopping and see if anything grabs me. And I tended to find that with Mirror, to me, it was the feeling that it was actually an album. It felt like an album. Felt like it went beginning, middle, and end, which is like the antithesis of what so many artists are striving for these days, which is a list of singles, effectively. It had its moments. I mean, One More Time is a straight up that is a radio song, but
as a bang.
I love that song.
It's produced so well as well. Like, see when that bass guitar comes in.
Yes.
It's just like it's so good. So
yeah, I must admit that I didn't expect, and apologies for the stereotype, I didn't expect when this began that we would be bonding over the poppiest song Scandal released in a while. But bless you, man, I really appreciate it. Now, I know you got a lot of stuff going on, and it's an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I would say to anyone who hasn't already, Axe Japan, I called him X Japan earlier. Axe Japan, he is, if you're playing guitar, and I know a lot of you people are, I recently did a question on our community asking what instrument you guys would most like to take up if you could, and unsurprisingly, a lot of you said guitar. Well, if you want to play the songs that we listen to, this is your man. Go to Axe Japan, very easy to find online. He's got a Discord community. Hopefully he's going to push that as well.
Yes. I do actually do guitar lessons, like, one-to-one guitar lessons
in the Scottish Highlands.
Yep, exactly. So you can go to Patreon and stuff. You can sign up for guitar lessons if you want to.
Wow. Like
have a bit more of
video?
A one-to-one.
Like video?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
There you go. I didn't know that. There's a lot of more things that I would love to talk to this man about. So if you guys have enjoyed this, then do press like, get in the comments, and maybe we'll find a time for another one of these. It certainly has been a pleasure to get to know him. So maybe in the future we can chew the beef over some other stuff. But man, it's absolute pleasure, as I say. And anyone who's on here, if you haven't already, go check out Axe Japan. I think
thank you so much. It was really fun.
Yeah, pleasure for me. And hopefully we'll do this again sometime soon. But I'm going to stop this recording. We're going to have a little chat. You guys at home, see you later. And for now, from Japan. Wait, I did that the wrong way. I'll do that again. It's got a rhyme. For now, ciao, ciao.